Today I'm reading from the book Spirit of Homeopathy, book written by Dr. Rajan Sankaran, Mind section and episode 27, Polarity within a Remedy. In writing about the polarities within a remedy, my idea is to make a clear distinction between what belongs to the remedy state itself and what is the compensation is for it. The need to differentiate between these two arises because often it seems that a polarity within a remedy is compensation, since it is in some way opposite to one of the feature of the remedy. On the other hand, a compensated feature of the remedy may itself seems to be a polarity. We shall look at what polarity means, why it exists, how we can identify it, and how we can differentiate it from the compensated behavior. To take a simple example of the polarity, let me talk about an incident. I was once invited to inaugurate the homeopathy clinic of one of my students. I agree and plan to do so. On the way to attending the seminar, in my car was a friend to whom I was giving a lift to the seminar. I asked her to come up with me to the clinic rather than wait in the car. She knew my student and she could have come up to greet him on this occasion. She refused to come up, saying, "How can I come when I have not been invited?" To me, this statement represents a little bit of ego. It was like a saying, "I am so important that I do not go anywhere unless I am invited." This was how it appeared on the surface. But below that, I could see that exact opposite, which was, "I am so unimportant that I cannot go anywhere unless I am invited." Both these features were present at that time together, just like two sides of the coin. It was not that one was compensation for the other. She was disturbed along the axis of importance and non-importance, and that in some way the feeling of importance has below it the feeling of non-importance, without which it cannot exist. Thus, I could see the importance and non-importance are two polarity which coexist in her at the same time. The expression of it is, "How can I come when I am not invited?" is the expression of disturbance on his axis and is included within both polarity. I am not referring to any particular remedy in this case. In fact, most of time we cannot determine the remedy based on just one pole of the axis. A remedy is a combination of specific quantum of the disturbance along specific axis, not one but the several axes. In each axis, there will be polarities. In the friend of mine, ego was just one axis on which there was disturbance, and it manifested on both poles. In order to find remedy, we have to examine the other axis on which she is disturbed, and we shall see that on each axis both the poles coexist in the particular expression. When a person compensates, he compensates for the whole axis and not just one pole. For example, if the person is disturbed along the axis of importance or non-importance, the compensation would be the statement like, "I don't feel the need to be important. I feel quite okay. Even if I am an ordinary person. I don't need to become a famous or rich." This statement is repeatedly made. So we can see that the polarity within a remedy represents two poles of the disturbance along one particular axis. Both polar coexist in the same expression. Both are uncompensated, involuntary, and usually feeling. Therefore, in the proving usually brings not both the polarity of the remedy. Compensation is the attempt to deny the whole disturbance along an axis. It is always a voluntary act of will and involves an action rather than a feeling. We shall take as example that the polarities and the compensation within some remedies, like magnesium muriaticum. The disturbance in magnesium muriaticum is strongest along the axis of friendship. On one side of the axis is the pole of the delusion of being friendless. In direct contrast to the on the other side is the pole of unfriendliness and humor. Therefore, we have symptoms like sulky, repulsive mood, 4-second feeling, and sadness and mental depression. So, while on one pole of this axis there is a feeling of having no friends, on the other pole we find that he behaves as if he needs no friend. The compensation for the disturbance is to say, I have plenty of friends. I am very friendly person. I feel that one should be very friendly to everybody. I think it is good to have plenty of friends. I never lose an opportunity to make a friend. The need to make such statement constantly to oneself indicate that there is a disturbance along the axis of friendship. But the person is trying to heavily compensate for such disturbance. This example again demonstrates the difference between the polarity within a remedy and the compensations for the disturbance along this particular axis. It also shows how compensations are mainly action and the polarity mainly are feeling. Most of the delusions and feelings that we see in the remedy represent the polarity. That is why we usually see opposite feeling in the same remedy. Like in sulfur, delusion disgrace sea is, delusion body about as if it were black, delusion thin he is getting, ailment from embarrassment, disconnected with discontented with himself, looked at cannot bear to be. And this is one pole along the axis of ego, importance, and exactly on the other side we have the delusion great person he is, egotism, indifference to personal appearance, delusion old rays are as fine as silk, and on one side he feels unimportant and disgraced, and on the other side he feels too important and almost disgraced other people. The compensation of sulfur would be to tell himself it does not matter whether I am important or not, and I should not shun other people. In stramonium, some of the obvious polarity in stramonium are desire to light and light aversion to, delusion divine he is, delusion devil he is, company desire for, company aversion to, loquacity, talk impulse to, talk disposed to, mildness, violence. The idea of polarity is very useful in many ways. One of them is that when we find in the proving of repertory a disturbance along one axis, no matter which pole is represented in the repertory, we can assume that the other pole automatically exists in the particular remedy. Therefore, one can sometimes choose the exact opposite feeling as a rubric. It is not surprising, therefore, if we look in the synthetic repertory to find the tarantula listed on the rubric color aversion to and color charm by. Similarly, in the rubric riding aversion to and riding desire for the same remedy is the soranum is listed. There are merely two examples, but the repertory abound with such an instance where the remedy has exact opposite feeling and often modalities. Therefore, sometimes I do not hesitate to use the exact opposite symptom if it is found in the repertory. However, the basic principle about the polarity has to be grasped. One can see that the polarity within a remedy are uncompensated, which means that in the original situation of the remedy, both the poles are needed to coexist for the survival. For example, stramonium must have both courage and fear together. A compensation is not needed in the original situation of the remedy, and therefore compensated act does not belong to the state at all, but rather represent man's willful suppression or the denial of the feeling. The compensated form of the symptom usually will not be found in a proving or the repertory, neither will be found in the dreams. The polarities will be found in the dreams, in children, and in the childhood history, and in other situations where we can expect symptom in their uncompensated form.